Right. When you think about the biggest names in aviation, where does your mind go? Seattle, right? Or maybe Toulouse in France. But what if I told you that the world's third largest aviation hub is actually a port city in northern Germany? Yep. Today, we're going to dig into how Hamburg, of all places, built itself into an absolute powerhouse of flight.
Let's just start with some numbers because they're pretty mind-blowing. First up, nearly 50,000 experts. Just think about that for a second. In one single metropolitan area, you've got almost 50,000 people whose entire job is aviation. We're not just talking about a workforce. This is a critical mass of pure brainpower, and it's the foundation for everything else. And all that expertise isn't just floating around in a vacuum. Nope, it's plugged into this incredibly dense network of over 300 companies. And this is the cool part. You've got these tiny, super agile startups working literally down the street from the biggest names in the game. That closeness, that proximity, that's a huge piece of the puzzle here. Okay, so you've got all these smart people and all these companies packed together. What does that actually produce? Well, how about this? Nearly 7 billion euros every single year. That's not just a successful industry. That is a full-blown economic engine driving the whole region. So you add it all up. The people, the network of companies, the sheer economic muscle. And you get this surprising, almost shocking reality. Hamburg isn't just a player. It's the number 3 civil aviation hub on the entire planet. Which brings us to the big question, right? How on earth did a German port city pull this off? All right, to really get how Hamburg works, you have to start with the 2 absolute titans that anchor this whole thing. These are the industrial giants, the 2 pillars that build and maintain a massive chunk of the world's entire aircraft fleet. First up, you've got Airbus. And let's be clear, this isn't just some factory. It's the industrial heart and soul of the region. Get this, fully half of all A320 family jets, only one of the most successful planes in history, are delivered from Hamburg. And that new super long-range A321 XLR that everyone's talking about? Yep, every single one of them is born right here. Now, the other pillar, the other side of the coin, is Lufthansa Technik. These guys are the world leaders in what's called MRO. That's maintenance, repair, and overhaul. So while Airbus is building the shiny new planes, Lufthansa Technik is the one keeping the entire global fleet flying safely for decades. Their headquarters here is a global hub for the really complex stuff, like massive engine overhauls or even creating custom interiors for VIP jets. And this is where you can really see the genius of it. It's this perfect, self-reinforcing cycle. You've got Airbus building the planes of today and tomorrow, and then, practically next door, you have Lufthansa Technik making sure those same planes have a long, safe, and super efficient life. They've got the entire life cycle of an aircraft covered right here. It's like the yin and yang of aviation, and honestly, one couldn't exist at this scale without the other. But look, it would be a huge mistake to think this story is just about those 2 giants, because what they've done is create something way more powerful, this incredibly connected ecosystem, a whole network of innovation. And this is where the story gets really fascinating, because if you look at the actual makeup of this cluster, the big enterprises are just a tiny slice. A staggering 85% of the members are small and medium-sized companies. They are the true backbone. These are the specialist suppliers, the nimble innovators. They're the secret sauce that makes the whole thing work. Yeah, this kind of success doesn't just happen overnight. It was built piece by piece over more than a century. I mean, it all started back in 1911 with an airship's airport, which, by the way, is now the oldest airport in the world, still on its original spot. Pretty cool, right? From there, they added aircraft plants, then maintenance hangars, and eventually the massive final assembly lines for Airbus. Each step built the foundation for the next one. So what you have here is a textbook example of something economists call the cluster effect. It's this idea that when you get a ton of interconnected companies, suppliers, and even universities all in one geographic spot, something special happens. It creates this supercharged environment. Yeah, they compete with each other, and that makes everyone better, but they also cooperate, sharing knowledge and tackling huge problems that no single one of them could solve alone. Okay, so this cluster is obviously amazing at building the planes we fly today, but it's also laser-focused on designing the experience of flying tomorrow. In fact, Hamburg has basically become the world's center of gravity for everything that happens inside an aircraft cabin. So let's just pause for a second and think about this. What is flying actually going to feel like in, say, 2040? What kind of seat will you be sitting in? What will the lighting be like? The connectivity, the whole vibe? Well, believe it or not, the answers to all those questions are being designed and engineered in Hamburg right now. It's home to the Aircraft Interiors Expo, the biggest trade show for this stuff in the world. They host the Crystal Cabin Award, which is like the Oscars for cabin innovation. And you've got research centers like ZIL that are pioneering the digital cabin of the future. Think integrated smart devices, personalized environments, the whole shebang. Of course, we can't talk about the future of flight without talking about the single biggest challenge facing the entire industry, sustainability. And this, right here, is where that collaborative cluster effect we talked about becomes Hamburg's absolute superpower. It lets them attack this problem from every possible angle. And their strategy is seriously comprehensive. They know there's no single silver bullet here. So first, they're starting on the ground. The airport itself is aiming for net zero by 2035. Then they're working on the plane itself, with amazing tech like Lufthansa Technik's Aero Shark Film. It's basically a shark skin for jets that cuts fuel burn. And finally, they're tackling the fuel of the future, even converting a whole A320 into a flying lab to test out hydrogen power. So that really leaves us with one big final thought. The challenges facing aviation, especially the push for sustainability, are just way too massive for any one company to solve alone. But what Hamburg has done is create this dense, collaborative ecosystem, a unique engine for innovation. So as the whole world demands cleaner skies, you have to wonder, is this model of intense collaboration not just Hamburg's secret to success, but maybe the only real path forward for the entire industry?